Hi everyone, Des here again and welcome along to lecture number 5 of the Advanced Manufacturing Technology module. And today we're going to talk about some more geometry creation and some geometry editing. Now last week you'll remember we completed these two exercises where we drew the outline with some geometry tools and we edited a lot of the existing geometry to get features like the tangent lines and those little lug holes there as well. So we're going to do more of the same today. We're going to begin with drawing a couple of logos just for practice, but I want to move on to some more advanced editing of geometry. So we're going to draw some simple shapes and do things like grouping and scaling and rotating and adding some constraints and making some lines equals and so on. So this is the first example we're going to do, and I just want to practice drawing some lines at angles. So far we haven't had a lot of experience drawing lines at set angles such as 60 degrees, 30 degrees. Now up here you can see there's an image of an angle that I've highlighted in yellow. That's in the Constraints tab. There is a way to set two lines to be 60 degrees apart, but I'm not actually going to use that in this example. So if you open up AlphaCam, we'll begin. Now opening up a new file in the software, looking at the drawing that you can either take a screen grab of from previously or download the notes from Learn Online, you'll notice that the logo begins with a horizontal line across. So for convenience, I'm going to start at 0, 0. So 0, tab, 0, enter. That's the first point. And the line needs to be across 240 millimeters. So that's 240, tab, 0, enter. That's the base. Looking at the drawing, you can see I need a series of lines going up 30 degrees this way. So the Constraints tab I spoke about a moment ago is here. I can actually use this angle constraint to set the lines to be a particular angle. But what I'd rather do is edit the line I have. So if I go to Edit, Rotate, select the line I want to rotate, and press Finish. Select the base point by either clicking it here when the snap is on, or simply using, I know that point, using the coordinate 0, 0. Now I can actually set the angle of this line, and as it happens I want this angle to be 30, so type in 30, enter, and you're prompted to enter the number of copies including the original. Well, I obviously then want 2, so 2, enter, and there we have the first line I'm after. I need another 2 of those spaced 20 mil apart, so let's do that, but let's do that with the copy command. So copy, select the line I'm after, and press Finish, or press right click. Right click or escape is the same as pressing Finish. I tend to press right click, pick it up by a point of your choice, and you can drop it on to a point of your choice as well. Now rather than snapping it onto a point, an unknown point there, I'm going to use coordinates. I know I need this to be 20 mil over to the right, which means instead of being 0, 0, it's going to be 20, tab, 0, enter. And the command is still active, so I lay in another. This time it's 40, tab, 0, enter. And there's the first two lines that I need. If you remember as well, we also need a line starting at the right hand side over here, going at 60 degrees to the left. Let's use our same trick. Rotate this line about this point, and you'll just have to make sure you get the proper angle. It's not actually 60 degrees because you can see the way it measures the angle with respect to the extreme eastern point, the right hand point. So it's actually going to be 300 degrees in this case. So type in 300, enter. How many do I want? 2, enter. And this point, if I just call up a line, this point you can see is at 240, 0. So I do need a copy of that. So copy this line from there, and I need to move it back to the left 45 millimeters, which means my new coordinate will be 195, tab, 0, enter. So I'm at 195. In case you're ever curious about where you are in space, use the coordinate feedback right here. So if I hover over that point, I can see I'm at 195, 0. And I need to move another 15 to the left, so my new coordinate is going to be 180, tab, 0, enter. And then I need a gap of 45, so my next measurement is 135. So 135, tab, 0, enter. We'll try that again. 135, tab, 0, enter. And I need another gap of 15, so that's 135 minus 15, so now I need 120, tab, 0, enter. And we're nearly there. One more, another gap of 45 over. I'm just reading the drawing here. So this time it's going to be 75, tab, 0, enter. And there actually is the drawing that we're after. We just need to trim away the excess. So let's go to Edit and Trim. We'll select all and then Finish. And we'll just trim out the pieces we don't need anymore. Now, of course, you could have drawn this as construction lines first of all, and then traced over the bits you did want, but I think this is a little more efficient in this case. And it gives us time to practice our trim command as well. Now, some of those lines you can see I can't actually trim out. If you're ever trying to trim a line and it won't trim, it just means there's nothing crossing it and it's no longer a trim, it's a delete. So there we have those, and just as a matter of, I suppose, best practice, press Ctrl G to see the ghost tools, and I can see there are lots of joins that need to be applied. There's lots of breaks. So if I go to Edit and Join, press All, then press Finish, there I have the logo that's ready for machining. I've got the geometry exactly as per the instructions, and I've got 3 profiles and 3 of these white ghost tools. And back here in the notes again, I just want to show you one more example that I want to talk you through. It's similar in that it's based on a series of sloped lines and horizontal lines, but it's important that you're able to apply the lines correctly. So let's have a go at this one now. And while you're still learning coordinates, it's often easier to begin everything at 0, 0. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take this and use the move command and go Finish and pick it up from here. And I'm just going to move this one up out of the way for the time being. That will allow me to start this one at 0, 0, so I don't have to do any advanced calculations with the coordinates. So we're going to start geometry and a line, and I'm going to draw a line starting at 0, 0, so 0, tab 0, enter, and I want that to be 110 high, so that is going to be 0, tab 110, enter. Just turn off those ghost tools, Ctrl G. And while I'm at it, I'm not quite sure yet how long this line across the bottom needs to be. So I'll start it and just draw it across, let's say 250 for now. So it's going to be 250, tab 0, enter. And let's use the offset command. So go to Edit and Offset. The offset distance is 22, given to me in the question. And I do want to offset as geometry. So I'm going to bring that up 5 times. Okay, and let's now put the first line up, which goes up at 60 degrees using the same method as previously. So click Rotate, click that bottom line and press Finish. The base point is going to be the point of rotation, so select that point there, and the angle is going to be 60 degrees. So simply type in 60 and press Enter, and then specify the number you wish. So I want 2, I want to leave the original, so 2, enter. And there are a number of ways now of copying that line over, but I want us to practice our coordinates. So let's take a copy of that, press Finish, pick it up from there, and if I want to move that over 15, my new coordinate will be 15, tab 0, enter. And the next one needs to go over a further 25, so the next coordinate is going to be 40, tab 0, enter. And I believe I need another one anyway, and that one is going to go over a further 40 on top of the 40 I have already, so that's going to be 80, tab 0, enter. And actually looking at the drawing, I need another 3 actually, so copy that line again this time, and this time it's going to be, instead of 80, it's going to be 95, tab 0, and we need a 120, tab 0, and a 135, tab 0 as well. So if you wanted, and I might just do it this time to do something different, I'm going to go to Edit and Change from Geometry to Construction and press OK. I'm going to select all of that. Now don't press All, because that will select even the previous drawing that I've done, and press Finish. That now makes all that construction. So now I can go to Geometry, turn on Line, and I can start drawing over what's there already. The reason I choose not to do this that often in AlphaCam is the intersect tool isn't actually that quick to use. If I want to get the intersection of those 2 lines there, I need to get down here and press intersect, and press that line and that line. And then intersect again, and press that line and that line, and it just takes that little bit longer. So in my case, in AlphaChem, I much rather trimming out the excess in the background rather than going over the lines with this. But so please yourself, just take a moment there to trace over the areas that we have already, and I'll show you how to do the other portions in a moment. So I've just spent about a minute tracing over that construction grid in the background. And as I was drawing geometry, you might have noticed that when you hover over the parameter, the snap tool, the intersection snap tool, it prompts you to press F9 instead of constantly go down here and pressing this tool. So you could do that. I need a line from here now going down to the right at 60, and one from here going down as well at 60. There's a couple of different ways of doing this, but I'm going to stay with the method I've been using for now. I'm going to go to Edit, Rotate this line about, let's turn on the snap, about that point, and the angle I'm after is 240. So type in 240, enter. How many of them? 2. Okay. Now if you happen to have had a line going down already, you could have just copied the line, pick it up from any particular point. I'm going to pick it up from its end point, which I do want in this case. I want another version of that here. There I go. Now I hadn't expected this, but you can see that line just is that little bit too short. So let me show you how to fix that. I'm going to go to Extend, press All to select everything, and then Finish, and then click the line, and it will extend it on for you. All that's left to do now is turn on your geometry and start there and come down to the end here. Move across. I need to pick up the intersection, so press F9 or else this icon. Same again. Same again. It can be a little tiresome clicking that every time. But the reason I choose to click it every time is I absolutely know I'm picking up the intersection and not some random point. So now once the logo is done, I'm going to get over here to the left and just tick the construction box to turn off the construction box and check the design. Control G will bring on some extra ghost tools. So Edit, Join. I might as well press All again and then Finish. And I want to move those a little neatly, or into position a little neater. So Control G turns off the ghost tools. I'm going to go to Move and select that. Finish. Then pick up that point. And I want to position that point somewhere over here. So let's position it at about 300. So 300, tab 0, enter. And there you have those first two exercises. They could be used on company signs or anything really for machining. I could actually take those green profiles now and run a toolpath or cutter along them. So for a few minutes we're going to ignore the coordinate system and just draw something randomly for now. And in fact, the more random the better. Try and draw this shape, and I don't actually want you to draw it accurately. I want to show you how to draw it accurately, or to force it to be accurate afterwards using constraints. So if you draw that arrow, you'll notice that the lines are just everywhere. If you get up here to constraints, you can see that you can add little rules to every individual line. So I'm going to select horizontal. I'm going to tell that portion and that portion of the arrow to be horizontal. In fact, I have to call up the command each time separately. A vertical constraint will be applied to there. Another vertical one will be applied there, and another one there. While I'm at it, I'm going to add an equals constraint. So let's go to equal length, and I want this top line and that bottom line to be equals in length. So when you've both selected, you right click and it makes the command be applied. I also want this line and this line, right click, to be equals, and of course the two lengths of the arrow as well. So equal that and that, right click. Now they're all behaving as they should, but let's actually give them specific lengths or dimensions. So if I go to length, click this top line, here I can type in the value. So let's say I want that to be 300. Works out well. And let's say I want this vertical line there to be 40. So length, click that line, type in 40, enter. And those little lines, I want those to be, I'm guessing now, let's make them 20. Length, that one, 20. So there you can see I've got an arrow drawn, and it's quite precisely drawn without using coordinates. So there's nothing wrong with using that method either, but I would always then go to Edit and Move, select the whole arrow, and then either right click or Finish, pick it up by a point, and then I can see that point is a very random point. It's minus 59.821, y 164.766. It's too random, so I would drop that onto a nice neat point. So I'm just going to leave it somewhere here. I'm going to drop it onto 200, 240. So 200, tab 240, enter. At least it's a nice round whole number. So we've already practiced the move command. Let's now use the copy again. I know we've practiced these already, but let's just practice them one last time. You'll notice when I select copy and then try to select the artifact, it's all grouped together in one continuous loop, which is good. So I need to select that, and you have to then tell the computer you're finished selecting, either by right clicking or press finish. I'm going to pick it up from here and then drop a couple of copies around the place. There we have the copy command. Tap escape to close the command. If you're not happy with any of those, you can always use the undo command up here, or simply hit Control Z on your keyboard. It undoes. I'm going to take a copy of one of them. Let's move it way over here for a second. And I want to show you the next command, which is the repeat command. The repeat command, when pressed, prompts you to select. So I'm going to select the artifact and press finish. And then you have to put in a displacement. So I'm going to pick the tip of the arrow, and let's say I want to put it that direction, that distance. Now you can type in the coordinates, but I'm just going to guess it for now. So that distance, that direction. How many copies do you want, including the original? Let's say 5, enter, and it takes the arrow and moves it that distance, that direction every single time. In this case, 5 times. Now the rotate one, I'm actually going to press Control Z on that a couple of times. The rotate option, we've used it already, but let's use it on an actual series of geometry rather than just one line this time. So select the arrow and press finish. Select the base point, in this case is the center of the tip of the arrow. That's going to be the center of rotation. The angle, let's just say I want 15 degrees, enter. How many do you want? I want 10 of them. And it puts in a load of them like that. So press Control Z, we'll have another go at that. Let's go rotate. And let's just say I want 4 of them. So I want 90 degrees and 4 of them. Now the thing is, if I go to copy one of those, you'll see all 4 of those are individually clipped apart. If you wanted all those to form part of the same logo, what you'd have to do is join them all together or group them all together. I'm pretty sure if you join them, it won't do anything for you. Just try that. And go to copy. Yeah, see, it's still, because they are technically not touching, they're just touching at a point, but they're not crossing, you can't actually join them together. So if you want all those to behave in the same way, and you want them to behave as a single unit, then you're going to have to group them. So to group them, you move over here and press group, you select the 4 of them, and then finish. Now they're a group. And to ungroup, you can either press ungroup, or what I'm going to do in this case is just press undo. Let's now try a mirror, because if you were trying to machine these out of a large sheet of material, let's say a panel of timber that size, what you'd have to do is nest them and fit them into each other to save as much timber as possible. So edit, copy, I'm going to pick this arrow, I'll try that again, copy this arrow, and I'm going to drop a few of those in there. But before I drop another one in, I'm going to go to mirror, select that, and the mirror line will be the 2 ends of itself there. Keep the original, let's say no in this case, and it just gets rid of the original and flips it. So I'm going to copy this one this time, and now you should be able to nest them into each other. Now, nesting them like that, to be extremely tight like that, would be fine for laser cutting, where there's a negligible line difference or cutter width or kerf between them. But the CNC certainly doesn't have that. CNC has a large kerf, so we have to actually put them a certain distance apart. Now I'll be showing you how to nest properly in future, but for now, we'll manually nest a few of them. I'm actually going to turn off the snap in this case because it'll help me. So I'm going to nest a few of them together like that. And when I have two nested together, rather than having to do them all alternatively, I'm going to copy the two of them this time. Copy that, and pick it up, and see you can nest them like that. Even if they go off the sheet now, I'm not that bothered. So in the file that you do upload, I do want you to have a sheet like that with, I'm not too pushed about the exact measurements between them, but I just want to see that you've made an effort to nest some arrows like that. That's the mirror command and the copy command. So let's just do one or two more. Here is an arrow, and if I press Ctrl G, I can clearly see there is just a single ghost tool there. But what if I wanted to machine portion of this with one cutter and a portion of it with another cutter? What I'd have to do is break it apart, and I can do that using the break command. Now I can use the explode command to break the entire loop apart into all the individual pieces, but I just want to give it a little nick there and there, say. So press break, and I want to break geometries, and let's say I want to turn on my snap again, of course. Let's say I want to break it in the middle. Click there, and in the middle there, so click there. And if I go to copy now, you can see that that little piece in the center has been broken out. If you ever want to see the breaks, rather than pressing Ctrl G, you see it puts a little ghost tool at either end of the break. You can always go to View, Display Options, and then Show Breaks. And we'll put a small subtle X where the breaks are. And let's now just put that back together. So I'm going to go to, in fact, before I do so, that's very handy if you wanted to cut out or delete a little section like that. And let's, you can always just, if you wanted to undo that and just draw that line back in, just join it, it'll stitch back together. Let's just explore the scale command. I know we've done some of these before, but I want to make one small pass over all of these before we actually move on. So let's go to move first of all and pick an arrow and move it out into the middle of nowhere. And we'll hit scale and always read the box down here, select. So I'm going to select that arrow, then press finish. Now I'm only pressing finish because that's the kind of normal thing to do, but the shortcut by far is when you select the object, just right click. Base point, that's the point that's going to stay put. So let's say this tip of the arrow will stay put. The scale factor in the X direction will be 2, enter. The scale factor in the Y direction will be 2, enter. And now it gets twice as big in both directions. I'll press Ctrl Z. This time I'll apply the scale command, click it, then right click. The tip of the arrow will still be the base point, but I'm going to make it 4 times longer in the X and just once its original size in the Y. And you can see the arrow gets 4 times longer but doesn't get any higher at all. And what I'm going to do now is pick up another arrow. So I'm going to go to copy this time, copy this arrow, move it up here. And this is similar to the repeat command, but it's just more structured. It's the array command. So select array and select the object and right click. The number in the X. So let's say I want 10 of these in the X. The displacement needs to be about 400 mil. The number in the Y is going to be just 5, and the displacement is going to be just 100. And press OK. And that will give you a pattern, a rectangular pattern, as you may know it from AutoCAD. And I don't really want those little breaks shown anymore, so let's go to View, Display Options, and turn off Show Breaks. That's better. And let's just try the change command one more time because it's important, because we're going to get on to some more advanced stuff soon, and I just want all these initial basic commands to be very well known by us. So edit, change, from geometry to construction. And I'm going to just pick some of them. When you're happy, right click, and there they go. They turn into geometry. Now just before we finish up, I want you to also explore the view command. We haven't looked at that in a while. If I go to XY, it's what we're on now. If I go to YZ, I'm looking in at the edge of the thin sliver, the plane that I'm drawing on. XZ similar, but just a different direction. ISO, I'm looking in 3D. Some people prefer to draw in ISO. I find it a little difficult to get my perception and my bearings as to what's horizontal and what's vertical. So typically, we're looking at the XY or the top. Now, one more practice exercise that I haven't gone through, but I want to just test to make sure you're able to do it yourself. So please also draw this diamond shape somewhere in that file. And as always, when you have the file completed and fully, you're happy with it, please upload it to Learn Online. Now, the upload Dropbox will be for Lecture 5, class exercise, and the upload is going to close 10 days after this video is first made public. So if you have any hassle, just talk to me in class during the week anyway, and I'll talk to you next time.